Does our boat look any different to you?
This is a new experience.
It had been 2 years since Magic Carpet's last haul out, and we were long overdue. We had a growing list of things which needed attention, some of them absolutely necessary, and some of them only necessary to someone as picky as Aladino. I think he was looking forward to putting his boat building cap back on and working some magic on Magic Carpet. In this episode, we make all the arrangements to end the sailing season and begin the boatyard season. I'm Maya, and this is Aladino. Our journey began a few years ago when this boat fell off a crane. After 4 years of rebuilding her, we named her Magic Carpet and we set sail to go around the world as slowly as possible. This season, we're sailing in the Netherlands. Join us as we explore the history and strange natural beauty of this seafaring nation. From the canals of Amsterdam to the pastoral islands of the Waddenzee, welcome to Magic Carpet in the Netherlands. New episode every Friday. In the last episode, we explored the city of Den Helder. In this episode, we sail from Den Helder back into the IJsselmeer to the boatyard where we had made arrangements for the haul out. It was a cold and grey day as we motored away from the city.
So the adventure today is taking us across these sandbanks to Den Over.
Just over there, there's a sandbank, and there's these seals on the sandbank, and I think it's a little bit far for the camera to really see it. But at first I was like, what is that? Is that rocks? And then I saw some of them sort of like wiggling like this. I'm like, oh, it's seals. But you can barely even see it's sand there. It almost just looks like a dark patch of water.
But this where we are right now is the area with all the sandbanks. As you can see, you really have to stay in the channel here. Green is even exposed. We can see that as sandbanks right now. And the dark blue with the dots is hairy we would also touch. And we have to stay right in the middle of the channel here. But the tide is coming in with us, as we can see from the speed. We have additional speed. At this RPMs, we'd be going about 4.5 knots, so we got good knot and a half of current.
Going through the lock was easy and uneventful, and before we knew it, we were back in the IJsselmeer, ready to pull up the sails and set a course for the boatyard. So just in front of the lock on the IJsselmeer side, there's actually a few more sandbanks, and so there's another channel that you have to follow out from the lock before you can veer off and go whatever direction you want. And it just so happens that as we motor up this channel, the wind is right on our nose, which is actually perfect for putting up the mainsail, because of course you want the wind on your nose to put up the mainsail. And just in case, if we've got any new sailors out there, I know most of you know how to sail, but the reason for that is because when you're facing directly into the wind, the sail just goes up and it kind of flaps rather than filling up with wind. If the sail starts filling up with wind, your boat starts leaning over and it starts to put a lot of pressure on the sail, and it becomes really, really hard to pull up. You pretty much can't do it. So we're heading into the wind, time to put up the main, veer off, and set a course for Friesland. The boatyard we were heading to is in Friesland, a place filled with boatyards around almost every turn. We now had to cross the IJsselmeer to get there. So some time has passed, we're about halfway to our destination. The sun is setting and it's going to get dark soon. Are you having fun?
Yeah, Beanie the Navigator. I found a spot where I'm perfectly wedged in and I have the best visibility. I'm loving this. Takes a little bit of endurance, 2 hours. I'm racing against myself here. But yeah, this flat conditions, yeah, have made me go at 5 knots, 5.5, which I would have not imagined with the reefs. But this is, it's enjoyable.
Okay, we're here.
Yeah, docking in the dark is more challenging than in the light. That is true. But the sailing was really great.
Yeah.
There's actually a warm breeze, or maybe it's from not being used to being wrapped into fall weather gear.
We've got like 6 layers on, so I think that's it. Feels warm.
Yeah, no, but it was great. I expected more spray, but I mean, because it's mostly flat here, it's really great. So actually, it was fun.
Yeah. And I'm very excited to get all these layers of foul weather gear off. I feel like a little baked potato in here, and to make dinner. Yeah, you know how they wrap the baked potatoes in aluminum foil and they sort of just sweat in there?
Yeah.
It's kind of what I feel like. Yeah, time for some dinner. It's kind of late. It's like 8:30.
Yeah, I think it's one of those moments where, well, first I was planning to do a minestrone or something, but we're kind of getting grumpy and it's late, so maybe it's time for one of those heat-up soups.
We both had such big expectations. I was like, I'm gonna make dumplings. Aladino was like, no, I'm gonna make minestrone.
To use up the veggies.
Now I think we're gonna heat up a can of soup.
Exactly, it's one of those moments. Yeah. Good night.
Good night. Bye-bye.
As you might be able to see, we're getting Magic Carpet ready for winter storage. What is really nice here is I got a dedicated box that I get to fill, so we don't have to put everything in the boat and then it's just like really cramped. So in that box I was able to put our jerry cans, the life raft, I'll put the outboard in there, the sails. We'll actually strip it pretty completely. All you can see now still that will come off, the lifelines, the stanchions, maybe the winches, because I have to check the winch base, the traveler. So what else is there? I mean, the mast of course is coming off.
What about the Bimini and the Dodger? The
Bimini and the Dodger is coming off. The best scenario is just a clean and empty boat to work best. Every spring, Santa comes with a big bag. So now I'll take the solar panel and the Bimini off. The canvas actually does incredibly well. So this is what many of you might know as Sombrella, and the fabric is incredible. I don't know how old this is, and it just lasts. These two crossing bungee cords here, They're really nice to just hang something up and dry. Another thing we have here is our horn. After our few experiences in the Med, we like to have it handy, so it's right here. If you might wonder what this is, you can see my explanation back in the episode that we did for our solar panel. But basically I'm running the electrical wires of the solar panel in this sleeve. I find it protects it, and it's a neat solution.
It looks nice too.
Yeah. Another thing, not able to use it this season, but this is where I store the gaff. I love how many things are in our bimini. So that's the gaff for when we're fishing. It's a little rusty. We found it in a dumpster. But I love all the places I find for things. So Maya maybe didn't even know I had this. Did you?
I did not know it was in our bimini. No, I did not know that.
Also, last year it was quite a mission to open the zippers. What really helped at the end was 80% vinegar.
But you have to be careful with the fabric surrounding it too.
Yeah.
It is really tricky actually. But this year it works well.
Yeah. Over here you see this clip, and basically it is to hold our boat hook. Maya has one attached to the shroud, so that's her easy access one, and that's mine. And as you can see, I have sewn this on, so even when I open it, it stays here. And yeah. There we go. Ta-da! Now we can go for a walk.
Magic Carpet was beginning to look quite bare, but the preparations were endless. The engine had to be serviced, the mast had to come down, and all the parts we needed had to be ordered and delivered.
My engine package has arrived. Let's unpack. So it is time to replace the engine coolant. Very basic oil filter, a spare alternator belt. And then I also got, because we just recently had to replace one, so now I installed a new one and now I have a spare. That's the best way to do it. Raw water pump belt. And this one is also very important. I recommend to everyone to actually have this in the kit. This is a lip seal for the raw water pump. I'm gonna take my raw water pump apart and replace the lip seal. This is just prevention. At the latest, when you see it dripping from the raw water pump, like on the backside, then it's a sign that this is what you need. Alright, ideally you have an entire spare raw water pump, but I'm just showing you some basics. So I might take the elbow away too for cleaning. So this is a new elbow gasket. Whenever you remove some of these essential parts, you ideally replace the gaskets. And then Yanmar has a kit. It's not necessary to get it in this kit, but this is the very basic again. There's an oil filter inside of it, there's an impeller, and there is a diesel filter. So that is also a basic kit that I would always have on board. Alright, I'm so glad it arrived. Now I can get the engine ready for winter. Oil change this morning, and now I'm doing the coolant. I had to flush the system first with distilled water, and then good they have a tank here, so I put our old coolant in there, and this is the distilled water that I flushed.
Things were becoming more and more real. The next morning we had an appointment to take the mast down. Still a bit groggy with sleep, we motored over to the crane.
We've already made a few videos about this, so we won't film it in detail.
We've made one video very in-depth about the whole process.
Yeah. So now it's just about bringing the boat back to the dock as quick as possible to turn on the heater and hope, fingers crossed, knock on wood and all of that, that it doesn't rain on us.
Yes.
Doesn't the teak look good?
The teak looks amazing.
Scrubbed it all day in the rain yesterday. You're not supposed to use the hose here.
In record time, the mast was off and we could motor back to our slip to finish off all the last-minute preparations. Our appointment with the haul-out crane was scheduled for the next morning. It was the last time for a while that Magic Carpet's bow would slice through the water, and even though we'd missed sailing, we were actually really looking forward to the boatyard time. It's fun working together to care for our little home, and I know that Aladino especially likes the opportunity to put all his boat building skills to good use.
Not used to Swiss standards, hey?
Huh?
Oh, you weren't there. But I told him that I want to varnish again, and he looked at it and he was like, "You want to varnish again?" And like shook his head like, "You're crazy. Why do you want to varnish here?" I go, "Ah, it needs it pretty bad."
That's Aladino for ya. Good morning! Today is the day. We are heading over to the marina to get Magic Carpet lifted out. And I guess I'm vlogging on the GoPro today because the GoPro is waterproof and it is rainy. Although it's been changing every 5 seconds, so who knows? In a second it might be sunny.
All right, ready to leave the dock and go to our winter harbor.
Yes. And just as I put on my fun hat,
It stopped again.
it stopped raining.
It's crazy here.
And there we were, our beautiful home ready to be lifted from the water for the pampering to begin. Ahead of us we had a lot of hard work, a new temporary home to settle into, and still quite a few unanswered questions about exactly how much freedom to work on our boat the boatyard would actually allow us. But all of that will become clear to us and to you in the next few episodes. As always, thank you so much for watching. An extra big thank you to our patrons for really making this all possible. And an extra big thanks to these folks who really go the extra mile every week and every month to make sure that Magic Carpet keeps being produced. And we'll see you all next week.